Hello, comic book junkies, and welcome to another episode of Hey, let's talk about a comic. So today we're actually talking about Junji Ito's Ramina that just came out 2 weeks ago. This is a manga, of course. If you're not familiar with mangas, you read them like you would read a Japanese book. So kind of back to front in a way. They're reversed. And I still prefer this to a mirrored scan where, you know, they used to mirror, actually Tokyo Pop I think still does that. No, not Tokyo Pop. There is a company that still does it where they mirror the pages for an English audience. Anyway, I'm glad that they do them this way. So, Ramina, what are we talking about? Well, of course, it's Junji Ito. It's a horror. And Ramina is the name of a planet that is discovered in the solar system. This takes place in like a futuristic Earth. So there's flying cars, which is kind of different to me for Mr. Ito. He doesn't have that much science fiction. This was originally published in '87, I believe. I think it says in the back here. Oh, my hands. '87. And I read this online fan scans like sometime in the 2000s, I think. Definitely wasn't before then. This stuff wasn't available to me when I was growing up because it was like the internet was still very young when I was growing up. So we didn't have this kind of stuff. But yeah, when I got into Ito, oh man, did I ever. It mostly was reading fan scans and translations. Scantilations, I think, was the site, which is now a form of piracy, I think. But thank God we've got this stuff imported now and properly translated. It's very nice. Anyway, so Ramina is the name of a planet that is heading towards Earth, the solar system, at first is what they discover. And they discover that it's moving at an alarming rate, faster than the speed of light. It's science fiction, fantasy, okay guys, it's not real. Anyway, the scientist who discovers this has a daughter named Ramina, and therefore he decides to name the planet after his daughter. And this becomes the whole plot of the book, and also a giant mistake. So Ramina is really beautiful, and she becomes the center of the public eye, and so basically becomes like a pop star kind of thing. She becomes a celebrity, and there's a big fan club. The leader of her fan club is always around her. I don't know why you would have a leader of your fan club around you. That's a terrible idea, but that's what she does. And, you know, she's got this beau guy of hers that she's in love with. And, you know, she's surrounded by rich and powerful people who offer to take care of her and all these things. So slowly they realize that Ramina the planet is coming towards them directly at Earth. And while it's going, it's eating other celestial bodies. So it eats Pluto and Neptune and Saturn and Venus and Jupiter. Eventually eats Mars. And they're like, I say eating, but they don't know it's eating. It's like they think it's exploding through. But Ramina is getting bigger and bigger the closer it gets to Earth. They realize an actual size, not just because it's getting closer, guys. And yeah, Ramina is eating planets. Doesn't that sound familiar, comic book junkies? Anyway, so the population starts to see this big connection between Ramina the planet and Ramina the girl, who's 16 years old. Basically, they kind of go into doomsday mode, and they think that if they get rid of Ramina, then they can get rid of Ramina the planet. Thing is, here there's a good picture right in the front, I think. Oh no, right here. They're gonna crucify her. Right? Nothing more horrific than being crucified in front of a tentacle planet monster. I guess it's a planet monster with tentacles. I don't know. These are actually tongues more so than tentacles. This is getting very hentai and pornographic, isn't it? Anyways, it doesn't go there. It does not get pornographic or anything. It's kind of some basic body gore. This isn't even a very gory book, actually, for Ito. And Ito's been kind of like the king of body gore for me. You know, disfigured bodies and people like mutating into gross things like snails. But this doesn't have really any of that. There isn't really much mutation at all. There's a tiny bit of body gore near the end. But even that, it's just so tame for Junji Ito. I won't spoil it by showing you. I'll just take a look for myself again. But yes, so for this one, you're not going to get that body gore scare that a lot of people really like about Junji. Instead, you're just going to be kind of grossed out and a little bit concerned about how twisted it is. Because what happens to Rumina in the process, Rumina the girl, not the planet, what happens to her when the mob gets a hold of her is pretty horrifying. And Junji isn't gratuitous about torture or anything, which I really appreciate because I do not like, I was never one of those people who could sit through those like torture flicks like Hostel or, I don't know, the Saw movies. I watched them, but I couldn't really re-watch them. In fact, I think I was going with this. You know. Not really for me. I like horror, I like supernatural, I like genuine creepiness. I don't like torture. So that was a little bit different than being torture for Junji, because that's not very classic Junji either, I wouldn't say. Classic Junji is more mass hysteria is a big theme in his books. And we got mass hysteria here. Another thing is paranoia. A lot of his main characters suddenly feel that they are being persecuted by everyone around them. So that's in there a bit. But usually they think that they're going crazy also. So they're like, oh, I'm the only one sane. Everybody else is crazy. But they're telling me I'm crazy. And so there's this real questioning of reality and reality, how the main character perceives it. So that's another big running theme in Junji books and Junji stories. And this one doesn't really have that. Rumina is like literally going, how can this be? How can this be? But ultimately kind of accepting what's going on, mostly because she's, traumatized, and also because she's in deep mourning, because a lot of people die in this book, like a lot. So she's kind of just like beside herself from the tragedy. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I like the back as well. It says, I met Rumina's eye. And I think that's also kind of like people were trying to get up and see Rumina. The girl, not the planet. But the planet itself has a gigantic scary eye, which sees you. Anyway, I don't want to say too much, I'll spoil it. But I just like that they put that there, because it's kind of has double meaning, right? Rumina's eye, because you want to be seen by her, because she's so lovely. And then Rumina, the demon planet. And I mean, really, it's a demon planet. The only thing I would say that I don't like about this story, which it has in common with many of Junji Ito's stories, is that it doesn't really have a resolution in the fact that you understand what has happened. So the planet's existence is never explained to you. You don't know what it is. It never comes up. And that's very common in every Junji Ito story. The main antagonist, or the evil, if you will, of the story is never explained. It simply exists, and you have to accept that it exists. And that's to me, sometimes ultimately frustrating, but it also makes for a realistic kind of story, because there is so much in the world that we don't understand. And when evil happens in the world, if you want to call it evil, when bad things happen, they're often just, there is no explanation. So yeah, I guess that's just a little bit of reality that I guess Ito's trying to impart on us, maybe. Anyway, I really like this book. It is pretty different for Ito, but there are a lot of, as I said, common themes that he often reuses throughout his stories. I definitely recommend picking this up. I really enjoyed it. I sat down and read it this morning and was like, hey, we need to do a video on this. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here and continuing to bear with me while I was away from this YouTube channel. If you want to support me in my gaming, you can, of course, follow me on Twitch. All the links and stuff are in the description below. And until next time, guys, read something good. Bye.